Moving to Asia was definitely a huge life change, but I had been and still am and still are a history buff, and I love reading about the world, and I love different cultures and diving into different cultures, and Singapore was a no-brainer of a choice because first of all the ad community out there was really cool. I mean, Neil French had almost single-handedly put it on the map, and the chance to live on the other side of the globe in another country, but also a small country that had access to great countries all around it, that were just a plane flight away. It was fantastic. It was really one of the easiest, most terrifying and easiest decision I ever made. Part of my advice to a young person now would be to live abroad. I find it to be one of the most exciting things you can do. To pick up and move to another country and have to learn that country's rhythms and interests and way of life, and then do advertising that actually speaks to that culture, it really makes you think differently about the world you come from as well. So I think that's a huge thing to be able to do, and I'm very fortunate to be able to have done it. When I hire someone young, I think we look for the spark that is there to where they really want to go as a creative. I don't look for people who can do certain things well, like creatives think they need to have certain types of work in their book because that's what we're looking for. Nope, not at all. I want to know the power of their brain and where I can point it. The best young team I ever looked at, they opened up their book and they had a really great business idea for a digital property. And it was so interesting and so good. It wasn't an ad, it was a really interesting business idea. And then I turned the page and they had another really interesting business idea for a video game. And I was like, that's great thinking, that's different thinking. It's not just advertising, it's not just here's your long copy campaign, and here's your case study, and here's your for good campaign, here's your this. It was nothing, it was just like, these guys have brains that I want to be able to use and be able to play with and be able to point in the right direction and have something great happen. I saw two things in their book and I shut the book and said, let's talk. I mean, there's a bunch of things they can do. Just try to produce work as early as possible that is surprising and delightful and different, just like any of us. You know, I think a young person's trials are the same as any creative's challenges, just with a lower salary. We're all trying to get noticed. We're all trying to do work that gets noticed and gets traction in the world and gets loved and changes a company's fortunes or an organization's fortunes. They have the same goals as we do, just maybe on a little bit smaller scale. I love the idea of getting young creatives from all over the world to come and be together and to take classes together and hear seminars together. I do think, I find it amazing that I feel like I have more in common with creatives from around the world than I do from people I grew up next to. You know, I have real affinity for people in advertising or creative people all around the world, and I get along better with them than I do, again, guys I went to high school with. So it's really great to see young creatives mixing here and seeing all their similarities and their similar struggles, but also the tiny differences too. It's fantastic exposure for a young creative to see how big our world can actually be and the opportunity for them can actually be. Absolutely. This was one of the best talks I ever gave because the students fired back really good questions. A couple of them I was surprised to see felt deeply cynical. You know, as young creatives, maybe with 1 or 2 years in the business, I found it amazing to see the cynicism had run that deep already. You know, and that's one of the reasons I gave this talk is to help them realize that cynicism doesn't have to overwhelm you. You know, and while it can feel overwhelming on a daily basis, to have more of a long view of how fun and rewarding and interesting this business could actually be. I think the most challenging question I got was the question from a guy who's wearing some red t-shirt, and he just was saying, you know, this all seems really great for you in your agency, but I work at a very tough agency with really tough briefs that I don't see the light at the tunnel. And not so much the question, but just the look in his eye of like, you know, I'm drowning here, I thought was pretty powerful. And it reminded me why I like to go speak to groups of young creatives like this, because we can lose really talented people to that despair and that cynicism. You know, people go off to work for app companies and for Facebook and Google, and there's a little bit of a talent drain going on in this industry because that cynicism and that daily disappointment can be overwhelming. So he reminded me why I like to come talk to groups like this. No, well, I'd say, yeah, that is life. Toughen up. You know, we have to remind ourselves that this business is pretty fantastic, and we can take that for granted. We get to come in and drink coffee and talk with really funny people, and our short attention spans are rewarded because we get to work on a donut account in the morning and a car account and an insurance account, and it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, we get to ping pong around to different challenges and different ideas in a way that's really mentally challenging and very, very fun. A lot more fun than a lot of other jobs out there. I'd say more fun than 99% of all the jobs in the world. To a young creative, I would say believe in doing work that can actually make a really big impact. Because if you do honest work that can make a big impact, it'll fuel your career, and you'll feel a little bit better about looking yourself in the mirror in the morning. You know, I wouldn't say go for awards, but I would say do work that does get noticed in the world and actually has a positive impact on the world. Your career will be better for it, the world will be a little bit better for it.